Hello, welcome to episode 4 of the Fractured Glass podcast. I present you, we have Alpha, we have
Hello.
Nobby Slicks, Nomad, and
Hello.
Zeta in this episode.
Wagwan.
Hello there. Yeah, it's gonna be kind of a chill episode. We sadly did miss our usual time, but we're all here now, ready to talk about some things. Jacob, lead us off.
Well, so we're going to be talking about different subjects. We will throw in a little pieces here and there for the Fractured Glass timeline, but this one's going to be a little more relaxing since, we decided just to make a more chill episode to calm everything down that's been happening in the community lately. All the chaos, the
Just the kind of infighting it seems we've been finding with the Halo community as a whole. Plus, there's not we haven't sadly we have not made too much progress with some of our other projects. So we felt, hey, let's talk about some other stuff that we have in the pipelines that's not quite Halo related, but still fun for us all to work on.
yeah. So why don't we start with Nobby Slicks and his concept ideas if he ever did a Star Wars alternate universe.
Okay. Well, I think first things first, I would say I would tell canon and legends to both fuck off, and I would just do my own thing with elements from both. I don't think I'd favor one over the other. Oh, actually, that's a lie. I would totally favor legends because fuck Disney canon. Anyway, I would think it would be from, and probably say, let's say it's set in the original trilogy period, post Endor, and I'm just making this up as I go along. But say it's from perspective of some, I don't know, some Jedi Padawan or something. Trying to
Trying to
I don't know. Just again, I'm not that far into the kind of again. I'm just making this up as I go along, but you know, he's trying to find something on, say, Coruscant.
He's trying to find the Death Sticks.
Yeah, let's go with that. Yeah, let's go with that. Yeah, he's hoping to. He's looking to get into the Death Stick trade, and
Right.
you know, he's sort of a Breaking Bad-esque Star Wars show, where he.
He throws pizza on top of the Millennium Falcon.
The Millennium Falcon's shaped like a pizza. He'd just be adding to it.
Han will be
Right,
like, Chewie, when do we paint the Falcon?
That's an awful Chewie impression, but
All right, real quick.
Joey,
though,
we need to
important-
cook.
Chewie, we need a cock. Chewie, we need a cock.
Chewie need the cock.
Jesus. Important question though. Mara Jade, yay or nay?
Yay. Redheads are a blessed thing to this universe.
Now, Jacob, that's not your decision to make. It's Nobby's.
Yes. I mean, we all know what Jacob says is gospel and truth, but it's up to Nabi now.
Then
Nobby,
call me
what
a
do you-
heretic.
I think we both.
I'll pull a Mario Donald and force in drama.
No, anyway, Nobby. Tell us,
Hey.
Nobby Jade or no?
Do you
Nobby
think Nobby
Jade.
Jade? Yeah.
I said Nobby Jade.
I-
Wow. Wow.
We're off to a great start already, ladies and gentlemen.
I
So,
think we
Nobby,
both
what
know
do you
the-
say? Mara or no?
I think we both know the answer to that.
Well, I want you to say it.
No.
So
Yes,
no to
wait.
Mara Jade.
Wait,
Got it.
no,
Immediate
wait,
0
no.
to 10, 0 to 10. No more Jade, I'm not in. I'm out.
Yeah.
Oh, Jade.
You heard it here first,
No,
folks.
no
Nobby
big
said
titty
no.
redhead. 0 out of 10.
Alright, so,
Next for-
Ojo. Sorry, go ahead.
Next, you're gonna say, Nobby, you're gonna have Luke Skywalker just hang out on an island all by himself and just want to die. Despite the fact he made a map leading to his exact location.
I did not
I never
understand that
understand that.
reference.
Who would do that? Who would
Uh,
make Luke Skywalker abandon himself on an island and
That was
make a map leading to his exact location, even though he wants to die? Who would do that? Who in their right mind would think that's good, right?
GG Russian battle tank. I don't know.
I don't know. All right, so all
Just-
jokes
just-
aside, Nobby. Now you say there's a lot you'd probably keep from Legends in this theoretical timeline years. What specifically would you want to see more of if you were to write it?
I don't know, like probably just with Project Blackwing.
That's
feel
the zombie virus,
That's,
right?
that's the zombies, yeah, Death Troopers.
Gotcha.
I feel like it would make sense for the Empire because they're kind of goofy sometimes. It would make sense for
a little
them to.
goofy.
It would make sense for them to unleash Blackwing on the galaxy and some fucking last ditch effort to, get back at the New Republic or something.
Yeah, because they're big salty bitches.
Yes, they are.
Honestly, what was that? What's the word I'm forgetting?
Black spot?
No, not that. A revenge plan that involved space zombies sounds far more interesting than weather-altering satellites being fired upon your own civilians. Just what the hell was that idea, Sheev?
Indeed.
It's called the Kathleen Kennedy cancer.
Fair enough. All right. So we.
And then
so
if we
that's-
get any of the people that defend the sequel trilogy, you automatically get blacklisted from this podcast.
I wouldn't say that. That's a little unfair.
Okay, fine. You get blacklisted from my Twitter.
I mean,
That's-
a bit
that's
better,
fair.
but still. I don't know. There's good, there's cool people that like the sequels and understand why people like the prequels. It's not unheard of.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I muted the sequels on my Twitter, along with anything that deals with Last of Us.
I don't blame you, to be honest. Especially considering Last of Us 2. But we're getting off topic. Is there anything else you would want aside from OG Death Troopers, Nabi?
Not entirely sure. I'll think on that.
Alright, fair enough.
All right. Why don't we? Should we make way to our next segment, or can finish off with the Star Wars a bit more?
You have a
Only if
Transformers
Nabi
you
has
want
more to say on it.
Yeah.
Nabi?
Nothing more to add.
Okay. All right. So then that allows us to segue into more sci-fi with Jacob's Transformers. AU.
Maybe not yet. I will save the best for last.
Okay. Gotcha.
Why don't we do Nomad's Transformers if he wants to discuss that?
All right. I guess I could discuss that a little bit. Basically, with the fact that I have been getting more into Transformers again due to, well, unfortunate events revolving around Halo.
Also, Monkey movie coming out.
Less the monkey movie and more the personal issues. I've decided to start working on a Transformers fan and project, I guess. Did someone leave?
Nabi is bowing out a little early. He's got something to take care of IRL.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Basically, just doing my own Transformer AU. It's going to mainly focus, at first anyway, it's going to mainly focus on the Autobots as they battle the Combaticons and forces under their command on Earth, and then later on I'll bring Megatron in. Right now I do have 3 short stories planned for that, and with Jacob's permission I'd like to just talk about them a little bit.
Sure.
Alright, so the first one, basically two of these are going to be really inspired by the first Bayverse film, obviously heavily rewritten, but still, I like some of the ideas from those. And the third one is going to be a bit of a retelling of the last couple missions of Fall of Cybertron. The two that are going to be taking place on Earth is Meeting the Locals and Scorched Earth. Meeting the Locals is going to be more of a, I guess, kind of, I don't know how to describe it, action comedy in a way. It's going to be mainly focused on Bumblebee during the first few months that he's on Earth. Or, well, based on plan, the Autobots are going to be scattered across the Earth, and so this first one's going to be focused on Bumblebee. I may do more of those types of stories about the Autobots before they all meet back up. But it's going to be about Bumblebee as he tries to lay low, and obviously that doesn't work out when a handful of Decepticons decide to start tracking him down. And then the second one is Scorched Earth. Well, you already know that. And it's going to be about the Combaticons alongside Blackout and Lugnut doing some recon on Earth and stumbling across a human military base in the Middle East. So effectively just a retelling of the opening scene from the first Transformers movie. And then Transformers Birth of the Dinobots, well, that's pretty self-explanatory, especially since that's going to be, like I said, a bit of a retelling of the last couple missions of Fall of Cybertron.
Yeah.
But that's about it for this short stories right now.
Is there certain topics you want to put into your universe
Yes,
that you haven't
I
seen
do.
it done adapted before?
Yes, I do. Auxiliary forces within the Autobots and Decepticons. Because in this, the Cybertronian Civil War is going to be a bit more like Space World War II, or World War I, either way, where a bunch of different empires and races are also involved. Whether brought in just by, well, being paid for, or being paid to be brought in, like mercenary races, or actually believe in like Autobot ideals or Decepticon ideals. So most of the aliens under the Decepticon flag are subjugated and basically forced to fight. But I just feel like Transformers needs to kind of delve into other aliens a bit. If that makes sense.
They don't really
Because-
touch upon that many other alien cultures besides like maybe the IDW.
Yeah. Like I wanna touch more into how the war is just affecting the galaxy as a whole.
Because like it was I feel like media doesn't show this off that much, is that the war wasn't just on Earth and Cybertron.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking everywhere. It fucked everyone's day over.
Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna be going over about how in my AU, Cybertron never cut contact with the colonies, even when the Rust Plague was going on. They still had like other alien races back when they were still one faction. Because I'm having it so like the Cybertronian sphere of influence was quite large. And so they still were able to keep contact thanks to other races that wouldn't have been affected by the Rust Plague. If that makes sense.
I also imagine they probably still have some level of communication with them, even with the I forget what it's called, so correct me if I misspeak. Their galaxy bridges, whatever they're called,
Space bridge.
knocked out.
Space bridge.
Space bridge is knocked out. They would have had to have some like subspace communication.
I don't know. Transformers can get a little weird with that, where they just also lose contact with the colonies altogether sometimes.
Mhm.
If I recall, didn't that happen in IDW? With the fact that with the war over, Cybertron decided to try to reach out to the colonies again.
And then
And
there
now
was
they got the busy signal.
But no, in this, Cybertron like the Cybertronian colonies never lost contact with Cybertron, and so you have some planets siding with the Autobots, some siding with the Decepticons. It's going to be a really big conflict that spans millions of years. So again,
Guess you're gonna be making a bigger mess than Michael Bay in that universe.
I guess. I mean, I'll try to keep it consistent, but I mean, well, wait, define what you mean by mess, I guess.
No, just like blowing up shit.
Another thing I really want to go over is Cybertronian military tactics, how those change, and as well as their tactics, like their navies, because in particular, we don't really see Cybertronian warships much.
Mhm.
The most I can really think of, other than just the Ark and the Nemesis, is in War for Cybertron, funny enough, as in the game. We see Decepticon and Autobot vessels like a lot throughout it.
Yeah.
And obviously I want to explore, as stated earlier, or at least I think I stated it, how the war is just affecting like everyone just across the galaxy, both Cybertronian and non-Cybertronian. That's about it for what I want to explore in it.
Oh, what about Starscream?
Starscream in particular, I am going to be changing his origins up quite a lot, I guess. I mean, he's still going to be, well, Starscream. But I am going to be changing his origins a bit. First instance, he's not going to be from Cybertron anymore. Him and the other Seekers are going to be from Caminus. And I was going to have Starscream be the Senator of Caminus, but side with the Decepticons when the war starts. I might have something planned for him and Windblade. I don't want to say anything in case, like, I get yelled at by people.
Nah, who cares? They do a sloppy toppy.
Okay, you don't need to say it like that. Jesus Christ.
Jeez. This is a Christian only channel. I say knowing we've dropped the F-bombs several times.
But no, I'm gonna have Starscream and
Start.
I'm gonna have Starscream and Windblade be conjuxes with each other. And for everyone who doesn't know, that's just conjux endura is just the Cybertronian word for marriage, essentially.
That's
And
a very
obviously
strange word.
that well, I mean, they're aliens. They gotta have their
Fair.
own word for things.
Fair
And
enough,
when
yeah.
the war starts, that obviously complicates things because, well, he's a Decepticon, she's an Autobot, but they
Like,
try to make it work.
They have
There's
some weird marriage counseling during that time.
There's a song similar to this setup, I think. I don't recall what it is.
My husband keeps screaming at the stars.
But no, other than that, though, Starscream's still gonna be the same Starscream. He's still gonna just be whiny, cowardly,
Cobra Commander,
treacherous.
essentially.
But he can, like, he is good in a fight. It's just he's still, well, Starscream at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Still power hungry and all that.
So, pussy ass bitch.
Yeah. I don't know how he managed to land a tomboy like Windblade yet, but he did. So
Starscream moment.
Not gonna lie, I'm not.
he rocked
Sorry.
them high heels one day.
Wait, are you gonna have him have high heels?
Maybe as a joke. Just have it so he says, I went through a phase where I ran around in high heels for a little while, but all my soldiers were laughing at me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, from all I've seen of Starscream, it is amazing that he has survived day one of any conflict he's been a part of. Granted, he dies several times in any and every continuity, so maybe that evens it out.
Well, to be fair, he does end up coming back as a ghost.
I guess one more thing about Starscream, just to try to break him up a bit from most other depictions of Starscream. other than just being a politician, I actually plan on having him dabble in a bit of poetry. So we'll see how that goes.
No. Right. Rhyming Starscream.
No, I mean like he was just a writer, like a writing poet. You know, it was like a hobby of his, like before he became senator.
So that just feels like an ancient Greek at that point.
Well, I mean, Cybertron is very much, I guess you could say, inspired by ancient Greece in a lot of ways.
That's fair,
Particularly
yeah.
with like how the Golden Age plays out.
I would think Starscream would probably be fascinated by ancient Greece stuff. If you were Starscream the way you're describing him.
Yeah, I mean, I am probably going to keep to his scientist origins a little bit also. Just, he dabbled in a bit of it. Like, I'm thinking just my Starscream did a bit of everything. Just to try to find where he, like,
Okay.
fits.
Are you gonna have his friendship with Jetfire exist?
Yes. Yes, I will. And that will also be just another thing that's very much tested when the war, like, starts. Because at
Nice.
first, like, I am thinking of still having Starscreams just stay neutral for a little bit before siding with the Decepticons.
Which makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
But other than that, I don't really have much else planned for Starscream.
The one question is, are you gonna have female or a male Skywarp?
Male.
Ah.
In this, I'm going to have Starscream, Thundercracker, and Skywarp all be brothers. All like the three of them are going to be triplets with each other, born at the same time. Well, born in quotations.
Do you have any like character arcs for Megatron planned?
Not at the moment, other than, well, him going from Megatronus to Megatron. That's about all I have planned out right now for Megatron. I do not plan on redeeming him, or at least redeeming him in the conventional sense. If anything, if Megatron does survive to see the end of the war, he would just leave, basically.
You'll fuck off somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do plan on having Galvatron like show up, and obviously Galvatron is Megatron, so I still gotta work on doing that.
Yeah, you could always show Galvatron as like a dark future, which is the only probably one of the concept I did like from the Netflix show.
Oh, that does remind me. I guess I do have one more thing I want to explore, and I really want to explore Cybertronian mythology a lot more, with like the 13 primes and all that. And
like,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Is there like a specific prime from there you're gonna explore?
I'm going to try to explore like most of them in some capacity, but the two I'm really going to focus on is Megatronus and Solus. But just because though, I'm planning on having them both become heralds of Unicron.
Ooh, that's interesting. So they don't end off dying.
No, they like Megatronus becomes the Fallen, and I still need to come up with a new evil name for Solus.
Allness. Just go to the evil villain name generator, see which one you get.
Yeah, I may do that. And I do know one major story I do plan on writing in the future is how the Autobots are trying to keep the Forge away from, or the Forge of Solus Prime, well, you know, her hammer, away from her.
Yeah, her hammer. Which makes sense.
Mhm.
Because she's evil, and if the evil one gets it, she'll be able to craft anything.
Basically, for that story, I plan on taking some inspiration from Revenge of the Fallen, particularly with the Sun Harvester.
Ah.
And I'm thinking part of the reason why Solus wants to get her hammer back is to repair the Sun Harvester, because I'm thinking of having it so they use it to give Unicron more power so that he can finally enter like the normal universe again.
Yeah, is he like locked away somewhere?
Yeah.
Ah,
He's
that's
locked away.
kind of
in
similar
a
to what
realm
I'm gonna
between
do, but
dimensions.
anything else you want to mention about your thing?
Oh, what do I want to say? I guess humans are going to be able to kill Cybertronians. Cope and Sieve. Anyway, next question.
For my thing, I'm probably gonna have them be able to kill, but it'll take a lot to kill a Cybertronian.
Oh, of course, it's going to take like a lot. Like they're not going to be able to just kill them with normal bullets, but like.
Yeah, we're not doing that
Vehicles will be
stupid
able to,
one
like-
panel where Ravage just gets shot in the brain and just dies for no reason.
Well, I mean, smaller like Cybertronians, I'm fine with that idea, but it's like the bigger ones I'm talking about. Like, you aren't gonna have like Megatron get gunned down by a person with an M16.
Yeah, just, throw a parachute on him.
Oh yeah, that'll work for Shockwave. I mean, he has terrible depth perception anyway.
Depends if Shockwave ends up staying on Cybertron.
I will probably bring him to Earth eventually, but he will
you gonna-
for the most part, stay on Cybertron.
You gonna do anything with Elita 1?
Yes. So I'm thinking that during the exodus from Cybertron, her and Sentinel Prime leave first on their own ships, and when Optimus and his Autobots leave, they just get lost in space and crash on Earth, and Elita is like leading the search for Optimus.
Which makes sense.
And when they finally like meet up again, it's gonna be emotional.
As it should. Seeing,
Oh, and with the fact that I mentioned Sentinel Prime, I just want to mention that he's not going to be an evil piece of shit in this. He's actually going to be like an older brother to Optimus, in a similar way that Megatron was. Basically, I'm thinking Optimus, Sentinel, and Megatron were all kind of
bros.
mentored by Alpha Trion. Like Alpha Trion, like encouraging Megatron's like wanting of freedom for everyone. They just
Yeah.
couldn't have foreseen, well, what Megatron would become.
Yeah. Or Alpha Trion. He's
Yeah.
trying to help.
Yeah, he blames him. I'm gonna have it so he blames himself for the war starting. When obviously it's not his fault directly, but still.
Yeah.
But other than that, any other questions or?
What about Ultra Magnus?
He's gonna be very similar to his Prime incarnation, where he's just a very by the books guy.
Another question about Ultra Magnus. Is he gonna be armor, or is he just gonna be always looking like Ultra Magnus?
Oh, he's always gonna look like Ultra Magnus. I've never been a fan of him just being a suit of armor, just being like a white Optimus clone.
Yeah. It always bothers me when there's always figures, because I feel like his figures always compromise for the white Optimus armor. I mean, the white Optimus form.
Yeah, I mean, I have the Siege Ultra Magnus figure, but I just never take the armor off.
Yeah, it doesn't like his leg. I would have seen what it looks like. His legs are super chunky and ugly looking. He's just overly thick.
I mean, I like that he's thick. I like that he's like
Well,
distinguishable.
I just mean
from
like he just like he's so like it just like it feels like the armor is just so like bulky where it's kind of just unappealing looking.
Yeah, I
Like
get that.
there's nice bulky and then there's unappealing bulky.
Right. No, I get what you mean. I guess one thing I'm thinking of for Magnus is that he actually, after Optimus leaves, he does become the leader of the Autobots on Cybertron, of all the Autobots that just weren't able to get to a ship in time, or like are just waiting for their ships to get fueled up.
Yeah.
And so Yeah, you expect some guerrilla stories featuring Ultra Magnus in the future.
Nice. And anything with Rodimus or Hot Rod / Hot Rod?
He will become the next Prime. Optimus will pass the Matrix on to him. He will become Rodimus Prime. That event will be very much, I know I've said this a few times for some things, but it will be very much a retelling of the 1986 movie. Except, well, actually, no.
Are you gonna kill somebody? Are you gonna be
I
like,
lied,
your toys
actually.
discontinued, die?
No, actually, I forgot. I just lied to everyone. No, so I forgot I had this idea set up, basically. So scrap what I just said. Just that didn't happen. Retconned.
The retconned. Poll what
Basically,
Bungie fans think about 3 for 3.
No, what I plan on doing is when the Fallen and Solus get in the story, they will go after Optimus, and Optimus will be killed. And so he'll pass the Matrix on the Hot Rod, and it'll be up to him and the Autobots to stop them from getting the Sun Harvester activated and getting Unicron into our reality. So, scrap the 1986 movie idea. That's what I'm going to be doing.
Interesting.
I will be telling a similar story to the 1986 movie, though, in the future.
Would you like do any homages to like any episodes from Generation 1?
Probably a couple. Like, well, I'm trying to think like specifically. Like, I might do a similar story that G1 and Dark of the Moon did with Cybertron, like arriving in the Sol system.
Makes sense.
That was
Classic
both in
story.
Yeah.
Now now how is Megatron gonna treat Abraham Lincoln in that story? Is he gonna set him down gently, or gonna blow him to smithereens?
Drop kick him.
So it's like, all right, Combaticons, pick up the statue. I'm gonna drop kick it.
Yeah, he drop kicks him, and Starscream snipes him.
Starscream 360 scopes him
Yes.
and hits him in the back of the head.
Starscream does the Puss in Boots spin and just snipes Abraham Lincoln.
And somehow the shot goes to the back of the head.
Yes. But no, I don't know how he's going to be treating Abraham Lincoln yet.
Whenever you do that story adaptation, you gotta have Abraham Lincoln statue somehow make an appearance.
Yes, absolutely. It's tradition at this point. We've had 2 stories do it. It's got to happen.
Yeah, it's literally yeah, it's like a recurring gag now.
Mm-hmm.
And he treats the statue differently.
Yes, he treats it
There's
differently
gonna
all the
be like
time.
there's gonna be some universe where you just go to the statue and just dusts it and walks away. Doesn't even sit on it.
But no, back to Rodimus. Yeah, he will be the next Prime after Optimus. That doesn't mean I'm gonna be done with Optimus, though. Let's just say he might be dead, but he's not, or he is going to die, but he's not gonna stay dead.
So you're gonna revive him?
Yes. But
or are you gonna
Rodimus
do
will
like an
still be
Optimus
Prime.
ghost or something?
Maybe a bit of both, because I'm planning on Optimus. Basically, in my honest opinion, the only good way to bring Optimus back is when there's an event so terrible approaching that the spirits of the 13 prime, or the spirits of the, I guess, 11 primes that stayed good, would need an avatar to deal with it. And so they would bring back Optimus.
Yeah.
And I am thinking he would be in his, like, flight armor, so. And that falls under the idea of exploring Cybertronian mythology and spirituality a bit.
That'd be a good thing to do.
Mhm. Any other questions, or would you like to start talking about your alternate universe?
Well, before I do that, I was thinking if Alpha wants to talk about his magic and heroes.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to talk about that. Real quick, just any more questions before we move on?
Not really. I think I asked all the important questions.
Right, perfect. Yeah. So then, segueing into Magic and Heroes, it is essentially just going to be a big, big multiverse centered kind of story, but the first book is actually being told a little at a turn where it's technically at the end of one slash more characters' trails, you could say. With the main character actually being from a world that's still in the roughly late 1800s Victorian era, with magic slowly but steadily on the way out as firearms and science begin to replace it. The world he has finally landed in is an alternate modern day in which there is nuclear technology, but nuclear weapons were not developed any further than an unfortunate testing incident in the New Mexican desert in 1945, I think the test was, where it goes badly. So World War II ends far bloodier than our timeline, and a World War III breaks out in 1980, not ending until 1988. And basically, the whole tale is this one gentleman who's from, like I said, the alternate Victorian era world, is not only trying to keep a powerful artifact out of the hands of what are essentially Lovecraftian gods, but keep the Lovecraftian gods from invading / consuming this world that he's landed in. Namely because a servant of these gods is pulling in creatures that they created at the end of a great cataclysmic war in his world to slowly but surely overwhelm an SCP-like organization that is having barely, if any, marginal success in fighting them back in and around the New Mexico state, essentially. And yeah, basically, it's just that they're trying to keep the apocalypse from happening.
We must we must cancel the apocalypse.
That's what I
Pretty
was
much.
thinking there.
You better use that quote.
It will be probably towards the end, if not the middle, towards the end of the second, if not the middle of the third book, because I guess you could say initial story I'm wanting to tell is probably gonna be a 3-act deal of 1, 2, then 3 books. Yeah, it's sorry, go ahead.
Oh, continue what you were gonna say.
I was just gonna say this has actually been something I've been working on off and on for the better part of, I'd say, probably 8 to 9 years ish, and it is just it's just been in the process where I'm just trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing for the most part. But I do know the bulk of this particular arc I'm telling is set in about 2009, 2012, somewhere in that area. I haven't landed on a firm date even after all this time. But yeah, just trying to cancel the apocalypse with a SCP-like foundation working with a magical sorcerer to stop gods from eating their world.
Oh.
Yeah, the SCP, and this part, my favorite part about it is the SCP Foundation-like organization. It's a slight reference to, what do you call it? I've just spaced the name of it. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, in that they are called Department 42, which is the answer to life, the universe, and everything, if you know that book. But they are essentially, like I said, an SCP Foundation-like organization where they track what are called tears in reality and anything that comes through it. It's their job to either put it in a box build a box around it, or just keep people from getting anywhere near it. They've been marginally, well, for the most part, fairly successful. Although during the Third World War, their progenitor program, which was called the Apollyon program, named for, named for the angel that guards the. I'm probably gonna butcher this, so someone correct me in the comments. That guards the abyss at the end, either the abyss. I think it's the abyss at the end of the world from all of God's creation, essentially. The Apollyon program basically worked in a arms race against what was known as the USSR's Division 7 to develop super weapons from anomalies. So you had more advanced war tanks marching across the battlefield, even giving rise to what are essentially superheroes duking it out in the middle of Leningrad, Stalingrad, and several other battlefields across Eastern Europe.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be right back.
Okay.
Continue talking.
All right. Anything else you'd like to add?
Just a couple extra things. Like I said, it's Department 42 is like SCP Foundation, like the SCP. God, I can't talk. Like the SCP Foundation, while it is a world-spanning organization, the bulk of its headquarters, as well as its personnel, are drawn from North America. Just because at the end of the Third World War, Department 42 essentially evolved, out of the Apollyon program, with only a handful of Division 7 sites, bunkers, and personnel rolling into D42 when it was absorbed by a cabal of high-level authorities and figureheads, and basically trying to set up a shadow government.
I see.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, you go ahead. I thought you were done.
No, that's kind of like the bulk of what I want to talk of what I want to reveal about D42 for the time being, because much a lot about it I do plan on kind of building on one side, especially once I'm done with the first 3 books, because like I said, the first 3 books are centered specifically around New Mexico, with maybe a little into Texas, a little bit into Colorado, but just because there's going to be additional bunkers that the commander of the New Mexico bunkers is going to be calling on aid from. Welcome back. But yeah, that's a lot of the backstory for D42 I want to kind of share right here.
I see.
All right, don't want to spoil everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Forgive me if I forgot. Did you mention why the Third World War happened?
I didn't, but essentially, big reason for it happening will be that, big reason for why it's going to happen is, like in our timeline, there is essentially going to be still a Cold War between the Western world versus the Eastern Bloc, which is just communism. Although Russia is going to be at a slight disadvantage because of some events that happen in the alternate World War II, which I won't get into right now. But just essentially, they never got quite the gains that they did in our timeline. And still, like in our timeline, I believe it was Gorbachev was suing for suing for economic aid from the West. But when NATO and their allies more or less refuse, Gorbachev basically says, okay, well, we have no choice but war. And it's a lot more plausible in this timeline just because, like I said, the Manhattan, there is nuclear technology, like a couple nuclear reactors here or there, but ever since 1945 in this universe where the bulk of the Manhattan Project is inadvertently wiped out because the bomb they built is essentially too powerful. And actually, that part I kind of get a little bit of inspiration from a comic book. I forget what it's called, but it was a comic book where essentially the same thing plays out, where the bomb is essentially too powerful. The scientists were off in their calculations, and it just wipes out not only the test site where it was, but also the observation area, which kills Oppenheimer, General Leslie Groves, and just the bulk of the upper leadership of the Manhattan Project.
I see.
So
For a
yeah,
moment.
so with no nuclear weapons, it is pretty much allows for conventional warfare to take place, because that without nuclear weapons in our own timeline, that is essentially what would have happened irregardless. You can argue back and forth about whereabouts when it would take place. It probably wouldn't happen too soon after World War II, just because even with the Soviets having just massive amounts of manpower, they would be too exhausted from the drive west to do anything. But essentially taking place in the 1980s, where in our timeline, the Soviet Union is on the back foot and getting near economic collapse because they can no longer maintain even their meager holdings just because they were so badly mauled in the Second World War.
I see. I like that so far. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
And excuse me. So yeah, and what's even more precarious in the books world is as they're trying to contain the situation in New Mexico, because even though it's, if I recall correctly, I have the Second World War ending in 1988. Is either 88 or 89. There was a series of peacekeeping operations in a lot of the ex-Soviet states in the Middle East, essentially Azerbaijanistan, Uzbekistan, those istans essentially, and it sees the bulk of the U.S. military essentially moving from Europe just into the Middle East for further peacekeeping operations to keep communism from, arising once more. And with the bulk of the military over there still, there's not a whole lot that's keeping, there's still a lot of, how would you call it, unrest in the States, even close to 20 years after the war's end.
Do you have any questions to ask, Jacob?
Weren't you planning a specific cameo for one individual that has
That's-
the letter H?
That's right, actually, yeah. So, in the background of the book says the main character, and I'll tell his name actually, Eric Caldwin, as he and the people in the New Mexico branch of Department 42 are trying to essentially, like I said, cancel the apocalypse. The Lovecraftian gods are still kind of busy trying to get at other worlds, and at some point during their kerfuffle, their agents more or less piss off a god of chaos called H. And while he's not as powerful as, say, the gods of Caldwin's home universe, he's still more than capable of kicking the they're called the false gods, essentially kicking the false gods out of his universe, and even letting a few hints slip to Eric's homeworld of, hey, they're looking for your buddy, he's over here, do something about these sons of bitches, they keep trying to muscle in on my area. So yeah, I think Jacob is actually letting me have his Chaos God H make a cameo in where he's just kind of fed up with the false gods trying to not only usurp his own little corner of the multiverse, but it's just kind of making everything a little more hectic as they search for this particular artifact that could very well destabilize a lot of other planes of reality if the false gods ever got their hands on it. And yeah, I still have a few other characters I'm still trying to flesh out. I even have some concept art that's on my Twitter page for three of the main characters. I sadly forget the name of the artist who did art for Eric Caldwin. However, a good friend of mine, I don't recall his Twitter at the moment, did do some wonderful artwork for Captain Pierce, who is a leader of a military commando unit with D42, working with Eric Caldwin, as well. And he also did wonderful artwork for Colonel Catherine Miller, who is the commanding officer for the New Mexico bunkers of Department 42.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really cool, and hopefully, as the year goes on, I can get some more of them as I get back to working on Magic and Heroes
Between projects with
Fractured Glass. Yes. And while we're on the subject of Fractured Glass, we are slowly but steadily getting the redo of Reforged. Major thanks to Harrington and Quill for going through and finding and correcting a lot of my mistakes.
But yeah, there was a couple grammatical mistakes, but everyone has them time to time.
Yeah, among other mistakes. But yeah, it's all a work in progress, and can't wait to see what comes out.
Yeah, same as well. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yes.
I think you put a lot of thought into this.
Like I said, it's been a ongoing project for the better part of 9 years, so I better have some thought.
Yeah, not Reforged, but Magic and Heroes.
Magic and Heroes, yes.
Yeah, Magic and Heroes.
But we should. Anything else we want to talk about your universe?
Like I said, unless you have any questions or some stuff I do want to kind of keep in the back pocket until I'm actually ready to start rolling more details out as I actually get closer to finishing, at the very least, book 1.
Book 1.
How many books do you plan on there being?
Like I said, the initial thought is gonna be 3. It's gonna definitely be a few more, because at least delving into a couple of the other side characters like Captain Pierce, who is actually a veteran of the peacekeeping campaigns in the Middle East, and Colonel Miller herself being a veteran of the Third World War and who had been a temporary super wartime hero. So there'll be 3 right now, but with possibly more, just because there's, like I said, it's being told a lot of order where it's technically at the end of everyone's tale, but it is canceling an apocalypse after canceling several other apocalypses.
The big bad apocalypse. That's what the main thread is in your story.
Yes. I will be right back. But yeah, that's all I have to say for Magic and Heroes. So we can go ahead and segue into Jacob's Transformers AU. I'll be back in just a minute.
Alrighty.
All right. So if you're paying attention to my Twitter, I've been teasing little tidbits of different things I'm going to be doing in my alternate universe. I do have a bit of notes, but most of my notes are in my head that I just randomly come up with when I'm at work. But
The best place to come up with stuff.
yeah, board shift out a grocery store. But where should we start? We should just start at probably the beginning. So I'm going to the timeline for the series is going to be in basically 3 different trilogies. We're going to have the first trilogy is based around the War for Cybertron. And then the second trilogy is going to be the War for Earth and the end of the war for the second trilogy. And then for the third trilogy is going to be post-war, and it will end off with quote unquote the Unicron battles.
All right.
And what were you gonna say? Nomad?
I was just gonna ask, like, what were you gonna do with Unicron, but you sort of answered my question for me.
Yeah. So, I do have snippets and different arcs I want to do, especially with Starscream. Definitely Megatron's going to be a big thing. I am going to have a redemption for him during story, so I'm not going to have him be. I'm going to still have him do evil things and stuff, like things that's like, oh, well, that's fucked up. But I won't do it where it's like say like the IDW universe where it's kind of like that's a little sketchy for just like go like that.
Yeah.
And I'm back. Sorry about that.
But
Oh, welcome back.
yeah, so I'm gonna break down each thing. Each thing is gonna be so for the first trilogy, the first thing is gonna be its code name is called Before the Storm or Before the War. It's gonna be telling the origin of Megatron and Orion Pax, which in the first thing, Orion Pax will just be Orion Pax for the entirety of the first chapter or the first volume, and he won't become Optimus Prime until volume 2.
All right. I guess a
Well,
quick question, real quick.
Yeah.
How do you plan on having Orion become Optimus? Will you be doing it similarly to how the Align continuity did it, or?
Well, it's a little bit similar, but a little something different. He won't get the name Optimus Prime until Primus himself bestows it upon him, because Primus and his only remaining disciple at the time, which is Starsaber, are the only ones that could bestow the power of the true Prime. So far there hasn't been any primes for like years, but
Any real
there's a group, real primes. There is a council of which I call them just the false primes, which is basically the High Council of Cybertron, which they call them themselves primes, but they're not really primes, and they basically lie and manipulate the population of Cybertron to tell them that we're primes. Listen to what we say because we know what's right. Because Primus told us what to do.
Mm-hmm.
We know what's best.
I do like that there's only going to be 13 of them, so it's an illusion of a prime number, but not quite, since, like you said, there's 13 of them, not just
Yeah.
a singular.
Well, it's more of an allusion to the fact that Alpha. I don't know how much you know about Transformers.
Very little, if anything at all.
Basically, how most continuities begin is at first there was Primus and Unicron, and then Primus created the 13 original primes, the 13 original Cybertronians, basically.
Oh, okay.
And so what Jacob's doing is that his High Council is basically like kind of a mockery of that. Basically, it's sort of like it's a holy number for Cybertron.
Yeah, it's basically putting on the twist of the 13.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But this is basically they're basically calling themselves like saying, "Hey, we're the new 13 primes.
Okay,
We're the chosen 13."
gotcha. So,
Which I haven't decided who are the members, but one of the members I do know of is going to be Zeta Prime,
gotcha.
which is going to be one of the he's going to be an antagonist of the first volume and the second volume. And most of the primes, the false primes, will be kind of killed off at the end of volume 1 by Megatron and his new Decepticon rebels, basically. And
Gotcha.
basically, at least the first part of like once the war begins, it's going to be a 3-faction war. There's going to be the High Council faction.
Mhm.
There's going to be the Autobots and then the Decepticons.
All right. So what's going to be the difference between the High Council and the Autobots?
The High Council wants to keep the original, like the way of life of like. So if I did, so there is a document I have they want to keep like slavery a big thing. It's like we want to keep like the you work like we control you. You don't have any free will what you do. You can't choose like hey it's basically the caste system which was in like the IDW and the Alliant continuity. They want to keep that.
Okay.
Gotcha.
They basically want to keep all the dark stuff they're doing, all the manipulation of the people, lying to them for like billions of years, and continue
it's-
that.
So essentially, they want to keep. They're seeking to keep the status quo where they're up top in charge of, like you said, how the caste system goes.
Yeah. And since so as I mentioned a little bit ago, the only one that could really elect a true prime is Star Saber or Primus himself, which Primus is still going to be the core of Cybertron.
All right.
So then my next question for this is going to be, what keeps what and blah, 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 blah. Can't talk still. Sorry. I'm seeing here in your notes that Star Saber, you said his name was? It has
Yes, Star Saber.
has been missing for years. Here it is, for billions of years. What's happened to him, and why doesn't Primus, like, I don't know how the whole system works of just beam it into somebody's head like God did with Moses or whoever.
Well, so Star Saber is still alive.
Right.
So there is a certain path that's could be foretold that it basically they're not really in quote unquote the golden age. They haven't been in the golden age since the original 13 cast out Unicron. But I'm going to skip ahead a bit. So the way the 13 dealt with Unicron is that they locked him into an alternate dimension using the cyber planet keys.
So our worlds are in danger, huh?
Yes, I am also going to quote that in the following section.
It is every Transformers fan's duty to quote that.
Yes. All worlds are in danger. We must find the cyber planet keys. Wait, how many? I'm trying to remember how many were.
The 4 cyber planet keys.
Oh yeah. So there's 4 that
Before
locked.
the cons can use them for evil.
Yeah. I might change that to 13.
I don't know. I think 4 works, and plus it just rolls off the tongue better.
Yeah, true. But he'll be locked away. I'm also gonna introduce, like, at least in the the second trilogy, I'm gonna introduce. I don't know if this is an existing relic, like a Cybertron relic, but it's a Cybertron relic that allows someone to communicate with the world all Allspark. Just like they instead of just like because once you become one with the Allspark, you're not an individual anymore. Basically, what I know a bit about it, but basically, this device lets you pull someone's spark from the world of Allsparks and let them return to an individual, and you can speak to them and stuff. So, I am in my notes. Let's go back to the first trilogy. Bounce back.
Okay.
There's a character named Nightbird. I'm gonna have as somewhat of a love interest to Megatron, but not really. As in my notes say that they don't really express well how they feel to each other that well because they don't know how to express to themselves to them, because I think that would be more interesting. Like it's not going to be like, well, it's going to be more contrasted to how I deal with Octopus and Elita One, basically mirrored. It's like one could be very open to how they feel about each other. One's like, we like each other, but we don't know how to express it. So basically, like that. So in the first chapter, Megatron and Nightbird are slaves at Kaon, and Kaon is going to be a prison city, basically. Well, not just a prison city. I mean, an enslavement city. Basically, a bunch of the High Council has different people running that complex and enslaving it. the citizens to do work and build weapons and stuff. The
Okay,
defend.
so
What was that?
sorry, go ahead. I was about to make an illusion, but right as soon as I had the idea, it just went away. So ignore me. Sorry.
Nah, it's
Oh,
fine.
you're good.
But so there's also in Kaon there's going to be the gladiatorial pits, which the slave keepers are going to basically put against each other. The slaves against these creatures, different like quote unquote. We're going to have like maybe some Predacons, some Insecticons fighting, some different mutations. Which one of the slaves of the camp is going to be Shockwave. And they're going to basically use Shockwave to create these beasts and contraptions to have them battle against like the gladiators. And
So real quick question here. Then, the whole point of these gladiator pits is it just like kind of,
it's entertainment for the slave keepers.
Okay, or you could also kind of make it as a way of kind of like how the Romans of old did to keep their population distracted, games and circuses.
Yeah, basically I could do that too with keeping like this. Mostly everyone in Kaon has basically been enslaved.
Right.
So I'm gonna have Megatron's gonna start an uprising in Kaon, and basically begin to start riots and end up taking over the entire city and basically killing the slave keepers.
Okay.
So that's how Megatron gets Kaon as his city. I'm gonna have the High Council was like, what are basically the biggest slave center that we were running is gone now. What do we do? So a lot of like ancient Cybertronian, like say like what's it? The Guardians. That's what Omega Supreme was, right?
Like the Guardian Sentinels. Yeah.
Yeah. Guardian Sentinels do not give a shit about the High Council, so they literally will just like, we don't care what you're saying. They're doing something good because like the Guardians, they can't really interfere, but like they know what the High Council is like. They're fucked. Like they're lies.
Yeah.
Stuff.
So what exactly do these Guardians do then? What's their whole shtick?
In this, they're basically going to be guarding the lock that keeps Unicron at bay, like the gate, basically, where they're basically they're pretty big boys. They're very powerful. But
Okay.
in this, they'll be guarding the gate that holds back Unicron. But no one really knows what the gate is, because it's been like billions and billions of years, and it's just been myths. Who Unicron, the big boogeyman is.
Okay, gotcha. So, like you said, it's just gonna they're I guess you could say a bunch of Apollons guarding the big bad of the world.
Yeah.
Okay.
But during when Unicron was still out, he was able to infect certain like planets with his essence. So like basically those are like say like those places you can commute with his spirit that can be like cross-dimensional. Like he could still speak to you even though he's trapped.
Kind of like having just a giant Ouija board.
Yeah. So
Okay.
there's certain parts around the galaxy you can speak to him. That he's infected with his blood, which is going to be Dark Energon, because I like Dark Energon. It's cool.
So then, would these places kind of be like, I guess, no-go zones for people
any species, unless you want to commune with basically the devil.
Gotcha. Okay, that's pretty interesting. You have you have worlds that you can communicate, but they're, like you said,
they're dead.
They're
zones.
closed off. Yeah.
Like if you stay there, you either be driven mad, or like if Unicron likes you, you become one of his disciples, and he'll give you gifts to fulfill and find the four cyber planet keys to free him. Which that doesn't
Okay.
really happen until the third trilogy, which is all about the race to get the four cyber planet keys. Which in this timeline, the heralds are going to be what's his name? Karn?
Tarn, yes.
And that one edgy OC I'm probably gonna rename him, but his original name was Dark Smoke. I'm gonna change his name, but keep his like original purpose, and he's gonna be there. I might have Scourge and stuff be there too.
I was actually gonna mention that, Jacob. How does it feel knowing you basically predicted Rise of the Beast Scourge with your edgy OC?
Honestly, disappointed at myself that I actually did that.
Really? Why would you be disappointed in that? You made a character that's so good that Hasbro inadvertently took a long time character and applied similar aesthetics.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna make this version of I'm just gonna call him Dark Smoke. Dark Smoke cooler than what his original purpose was.
You should go back to the old images of Dark Smoke and just like paint him and like draw a mask over him. Be like, Hasbro stole my design, and try to get royalties.
Yeah, I probably will give him some sort of battle mask or something. But yeah, there is gonna be death is gonna be a bit more permanent in my universe. So like if like a character dies, he's not gonna come back unless they're a gag character like Getaway. Getaway, he's gonna have a death per trilogy, and we're not gonna explain how he comes back. He's not gonna. He's just there, just like, come on, guys, you're gonna get away. He dies.
I forget who Getaway is.
He's a gag character.
I meant like, is he like an OC? Is he?
No, he's a real character.
I forgot who he is. I'm gonna look him up real quick while we're talking about him.
I just remember there's just a joke that he tries to get away and he just fucking dies all the time.
So,
Autobot from the Generation 1 continuity.
is Getaway that guy from the IDW comics that like betrayed Hot Rod or whatever? I don't know the full context.
I don't really know.
All I really know about
I just know his
Getaway-
name.
All I really know about Getaway is that he had a horrific death where he got eaten by scraplets.
What?
Scraplets are like little.
basically,
They're basically not cockroaches. They're basically termites for metal.
Well, think about it. I'd say they're more like locust, because they like work in a swarm. They fly. Basically, the Cybertronian, I guess you could call them insects, technically, that fly around in a swarm and they like consume like any form of metal, including and not limited to, well, Cybertronians. Ever since
Gotcha.
Prime, they've been showing up quite a bit, actually.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to include scraplets. I just don't know where I'm going to place them. Maybe for like a tiny little story short. I don't know. Maybe an homage to like or reference to Transformers Prime. But the other thing I'm going to do is like Orion Pax origin. He's going to be starting out as an elite guard member. Then he's going to have a sort of a botched mission where he basically I don't know if I'm going to have some people die under his command, or it just goes horribly wrong, and it's just such a failure of mission that basically, okay, we D-rank you and you're going to be guarding you're going to guard a library. So basically kind of like what Prime did with Smokescreen, how he guarded Alpha Trion.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to do that with Orion.
All right.
Speaking of Smokescreen, he's going to make an appearance in the timeline. Because I love Transformers Prime Smokescreen. When I was younger, he was my favorite character. I do already know what he's going to transform into. I'm going to have him transform into a Corvette just I think at least one of the newer Corvette models. Because the Earth sections are gonna have to take place in modern times.
Now, when you
They
say
said-
modern times, do you have like a specific year in mind?
Maybe the 2020s. Like very modern, recent.
Okay.
But now going back to Orion, I'm also gonna have Leader One be one of the Elite Guard members that that's how they meet each other is during the Elite Guard training and stuff. They don't form a romantic bond yet, but they form a very strong very strong bond with each other. Like very strong relationship. So like I really like the build up to a romance and then having a romance
Mhm.
instead of just like, oh, they're already lovey-dovey each other already. But I might do something with that with maybe Windblade and Starscream. But I most likely will keep them a very, very close friends. But there is some topics I could go more into spoilers, so I could leave a spoiler warning to anyone who doesn't want to listen to spoilers for the timeline, which are mostly during the second trilogy and the third trilogy, which where death is gonna happen a lot more.
Mhm.
So, if you guys want me to talk about spoilers,
I'd be fine with it. Up to you, mainly.
Yeah. Like I know a lot of this is still in pre-production, so a lot of what
it could change.
yeah, a lot of it is subject to change. So yeah, it's up to you, like how much you wanna share, how much you wanna like kind of keep in your back pocket.
Oh, okay. Well, so, what is it? So the end of so at the near the like the midpoint or like near the end of the first chapter, Nightbird it gets killed off because they're having a like she's part of like a protesting against the High Council outside their chambers. Zeta Prime decides, no, I'm sick of all these protests happening around the planet. So, and there's one right outside our council chambers. Shoot him!
Oh,
Damn.
So basically, they all get gunned down, and everyone that in that protest just dies, which including Nightbird was in there. She dies off in there, and they basically like leave their corpses there so the citizens know just don't do that.
Jesus.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have like Zeta Prime be the head of the 13, basically. He basically acts like he's like, so like in Destiny, you got the speaker for the Traveler. He acts like the speaker for Primus.
But he's not, though, right?
He's not. he's like, say like Truth from Halo,
Oh, okay.
for a more easier comparison.
Hmm.
He's like the head honcho.
Got manipulated his way to being there.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And like the manipulation, like since Transformers can live for a long time, we're like millions of years. So to get to that point, to have the system trust them or be brainwashed by them. But and as in my notes, as like after the death of Nightbird, that kind of Megatron just kind of snapped. Is like I've tried doing peace talks and trying to change the system through peace, but that's not working anymore. It will never work with these guys. they must be killed, basically.
Right.
The only way to he's gonna go back to like the only way I freed Kaon was through violence. So the only way I could free Cybertron is through violence.
And so begins the war, right?
Yeah. Well, it doesn't begin yet. So as he will be talking to Orion because he still trusts Orion, but Orion is now like, this is not right. We can't just go killing everyone. Like, I knew you lost someone who's close to you, but like this will cause numerous amount of death.
Mhm.
Like it's safer to do the long game, the long game, than just go out guns a-blazing, causing more chaos than anything. And they just continue going over this conversation, and they kind of just started drifting apart from each other, because when they met each other, Optimus was like, wow, he freed a bunch of these like slaves. I want to meet this guy. He seems pretty inspiring. He does all these speeches and stuff. After that, it was like, we need to stop this. I've been enslaved for like years and years. So he's inspired, and they get a brotherly like bond. But at this point in the story, they're like drifting farther and farther because their ideals are just so different. And it's like and it'll get to a point where Megatron is kind of just filled in rage, and he just shoots Orion
Oh,
jeez.
in the face.
and he survives. Oh yeah, right, because you
Yeah, he gets a decent amount of battle damage from that being shot in the face. He does end up falling off a building too.
wow.
Elite One does find Orion, and he, as like his homage to the Generation One, takes him to Alphatron to help fix him. He doesn't turn into Optimus Prime from that. He doesn't get the name Optimus. He just gets like few patches and stuff. Ratchet comes in and helps him
Yeah.
patch him up, but like that's when he gets the faceplate. And in the continuity, about the reason why he keeps the faceplate on most of the time is that he doesn't want to show the scars. The only one he shows his scars to is Elita One, because he's like feels comfortable and safe doing that.
That makes me kind of hope for like the whole laying on like the lap thing a lot of people do for like showing couples.
Yeah, I will definitely do that. But it during the midpoints, or at least during the beginning of the second chapter, because like I think it was actually at the end of the first chapter, they found out that the Star Saber that been there with the High Council is a fake. He's been a character known as Makeshift, which is a shapeshifter who's took the form of Star Saber just to impersonate him, to say like, hey, these guys are real primes. I'm Star Saber, the disciple of Primus. Believe me.
Now, why don't you explain who Makeshift is? Because that's a name not many people might not know.
Well,
I certainly don't.
I don't know too much. The only stuff I know about Makeshift is from Transformers Prime. Makeshift is like a Decepticon from Transformers Prime that was basically to transform his body to copy the look, his vocal cords of anyone. And in Transformers Prime, he copied his looks of a character named Wheeljack, which was a wrecker. And the whole episode, he basically goes undercover inside the Autobot base, tricking them. But the only one he wasn't able to trick was Wheeljack's best friend, Bulkhead. And Bulkhead was like, yeah, you're not Wheeljack. And then it ends up being a duel, like Wheeljack gets freed from the Nemesis, comes to the Autobot base, so there's basically Wheeljack versus Wheeljack. The fake little Jack gets blown up because he's stupid. Forgets that he has an active bomb on him after he gets pushed back to the Nemesis. But that's basically what I know of Makeshift's appearance in the Alliance continuity. I don't know what else he's done in there. I need to get the Covenant Primus to read that, which is Alpha. If you don't know, that's basically the Alliance continuity lore Bible.
Okay. Wait, what is it? Sorry, one more time.
The Covenant of Primus. It's a book you can get.
Oh, okay.
It's an expensive book nowadays, though.
It can't be that
is it?
expensive.
I've seen it go up to like 500.
What'd you say? Covenant of Primus?
Yeah. Wait, can you get on Kindle Fire?
I mean, probably, but why would you want the Kindle Fire version when you can get the physical version as the cool little like Autobot like carrier thing?
You
Yeah,
know,
but like I say, like if I need a affordable version.
Oh God! This just in: Alpha on screen relearns how expensive books are. God
Yeah.
damn!
It's say old books.
Hey, at least the Bible's more affordable.
$550.
I told you it's an expensive book.
Yeah, I'll probably just get it on like
$500.
I'll probably just get it like the digital version so I can just read through it. But do they have a digital version?
I can check. Gotta use this new. It doesn't look like it. Granted, I am on Amazon, but all it's giving me is, excuse me, hardcover. I don't think it can. Oh, technically you can, because I think I just found a PDF file of it.
Send it to me.
Downloading.
But let's go back. Where did I leave off?
Covenant of Primus.
Well, from that. I don't know about what Makeshift did else in the line continuity before his death, but that's what I know of. So Makeshift ends up being found out by like during the meeting between Optimus, Megatron, and the High Council before.
You cut out there.
Well, this is during the last meeting between the High Council, Megatron, and Optimus. This is before Optimus gets shot in the face. So Megatron is basically goes against the whole speech. Is like, we can't do this anymore with peace, and basically he calls in his Seekers, which are not going to be the original 3. The Seekers are going to be more like go more by the cone heads, basically, are going to be more referred as the Seekers, because I feel like or like the Viacon Seekers or something. They're more
Alright.
like drones and stuff. They come in, they start blasting. The couple of the primes get blown apart. Zeta Prime manages to escape, but the one person that doesn't escape was Makeshift. Makeshift's disguise basically starts falling apart, and he basically turns back, and Megatron is basically like, "You're but a lie," and just blasts him with his fusion cannon. And this kind of freaks out Orion, because Orion didn't know what was happening, because Megatron didn't tell what was going to happen. Because Orion just thinks it was going to be peace talks, and then they get in a big argument. Megatron shoots him in the face, and then that's that.
Okay.
That's where their friendship ends.
Hold, you are with me. You are either with me or you are my enemy. There.
Yeah.
See?
Should I make the place on fire just to make more parallels?
It's up to you.
Yeah, it'd be funny. But yeah. After that point, in the second volume, Zeta Prime and his forces are going to be battling, because Optimus is going to start forming his Autobots together with which is going to be more ragtag. They're not going to really believe in Optimus because, like, how can we believe in you? You're just someone who basically caused this war with this person. They're going to basically say, like, oh, we can't trust you because you're not. Because because basically the Cybertronian culture is probably going to be falling apart. Is like what the 13 primes are a lie, but there's also going to be the ones that are just dedicated, still following Zeta. So it's going to be like a whole hodgepodge. Like, who do we believe and stuff to follow? Do we follow the Orion's Autobots or Megatron's Decepticons, or go back to what we had, which is Zeta?
Yeah.
And this will lead on to Orion finding, or somehow finding the real Starsaber. Starsaber is going to be very. He's not going to be what he was most of himself. He's basically been imprisoned in a prison complex by what was the High Council.
See, so that's what you're doing with him.
Yeah, and he's basically not gonna have any of his limbs. He's basically gonna be a torso.
Oh, poor guy.
Yeah. So Optimus does find him. This is gonna be more of like, say, you know, the level from War for Cybertron when Optimus goes on a mission to save Zeta Prime
Yeah.
in Kaon.
Yeah.
This is gonna be more of the kind of verse where Optimus goes to save Starsaber from Zeta Prime.
Okay.
Well, he's not Optimus, he's going to be Orion, but Tetra Drift. And so basically, Starsaber, as he is dying, he's basically saying, is the time for the next Prime must be chosen. And basically he's basically going to say there will be 3 more primes before the end of like the age of primes.
Oh, so he can sort of see the future then?
Yeah, Starsaber basically he could see what the outcome is, basically through like a vision from like Primus is giving him. He's already seen the entire 3 trilogies already.
So what's stopping him from telling Orion how to win the war? If you mind me
Yeah.
asking.
If he tells them how the exactly everything, it will break the fabric of reality. It's like it must happen a specific way, or it will go into a dark timeline.
I see.
And I'm going to explain that more in like it's going to be more touched upon later about the dark timeline, which is going to be kind of like similar to how Netflix did it, how there's a Nemesis Prime, a Galvatron, which is going to be from a dark timeline. But it's going to be written better.
Gotcha.
But after that, he basically says very like subtly, but he doesn't really say. So he basically says the first of the last 3 primes is standing right before me, which is going to be Orion becoming Optimus. And he basically says another one will be young and hot-headed, which is going to be Hot Rod, become a Rodimus Prime. And then he basically says the last prime to be chosen will be one born from tyranny, from choosing a dark path at first, but coming towards the light at the end.
I think I know who that is.
Yeah.
Screen. No.
But before basically Ryan basically gets um Starsaber out of there, but Starsaber's barely alive. And as Orion's trying to get Starsaber to the Autobot base, they're ambushed by Megatron's Decepticons and himself. Megatron basically starts bombarding the vehicle and stuff, and gets to Starsaber, and then kills Starsaber himself. As you say, because Megatron thinks this is just another false Starsaber,
Mhm.
and he basically just crushes his spark. Is like there is no false lies anymore.
I see.
So that basically ends the quote unquote the original disciples of Primus. Because I might make Starsaber one of like the first appointed by the original 13. So he's been around since the original 13 primes.
Right.
So Starsaber is one of like the first like non-prime Cybertronians then.
Yeah, he's he's the original, one of the original. But after Megatron, because the Orion does end up getting away with some of his Autobots, I'm gonna end up having Huffer die for no reason in that scene because fuck Huffer. But
Explain to the audience who Huffer is, because I don't know if Alpha knows who he is.
Huffer is a whiny little bitch that keeps on complaining. Is like, "Oh, Optimus, we can't do this. Oh," he keeps on complaining like a little bitch in
You
Generation
don't
1.
give Huffer enough credit, though. He did pull Optimus's trailer when Optimus was wounded.
Yeah, but I still don't like him. He's so whiny.
I mean, of course, but I'm just saying, you gotta give the guy some credit.
Yeah. I will. Oh wait. So during like the climax of like if the end, Optimus is Orion is sent on a journey to go to the core of Cybertron to get appointed by Primus. And as he gets there, Zeta Prime is there, try to kill Orion and his forces, just like, this can't happen. There can't be a real Prime. And Optimus is given the matrix of leadership by Primus, giving him the knowledge of the 13 Primes, basically.
Mhm.
Basically be able to speak with them as well. And then it is basically a 1v1 duel against Zeta Prime and now Optimus Prime. And Optimus trying, because he doesn't really want to kill Zeta Prime. He wants Zeta Prime to surrender.
Yeah.
But
He doesn't.
Optimus doesn't actually end up killing Zeta Prime.
Oh?
The one who ends up killing Zeta Prime is Elita 1.
Oh, so is it gonna be like that one scene in the Clone Wars
Yeah.
when Obi-Wan just didn't want to kill that guy, but then Anakin came in and stabbed him in the back?
Yeah, but it's gonna be less comical than that scene. That scene
Well,
was
that was
pretty.
meant to be more of like a foreboding scene, because like the Imperial March is playing in the background.
Yeah, I don't know. I always found that scene kind of a little funny though. You're like Anakin is like, why did you kill him?
He was gonna blow up the ship.
I don't know. I just thought the way Anakin acted, like it was just a Monday. But after Zeta Prime is vanquished, Zeta Prime's forces are basically they don't know what to do. They lost their leader. So basically, they either try to flee Cybertron or try to like, please forgive us, Megatron. We'll join you.
Did Megatron accept them?
Depending on which ones, but some of them are let in because he basically, you've been brainwashed, so I'll let you in. So he basically like he feels like he's saving them as from like the lies that they've been given to him. So the final chapter of the War for Cybertron trilogy, a good one, but it basically about going over like maybe a million years of battle against Megatron, Optimus Prime. The Decepticons are just like they're just stomping the shit out of Optimus because Optimus is whenever he gets a chance, he tries to speak to Megatron to say like, "Hey, can we
Stop
do
fighting,
something?"
please.
Yeah. But it gets to a point where it's like Cybertron is basically you can't live here anymore. It's basically pounded the shit out of it. So they ended up leaving Cybertron, and they end up battling across different planets for different segments. So and then they end up crashing on Earth, and then you get the first installment of the Earth trilogy and the end of the war, which the first one is going to be they get kind of just like Generation 1, they get kind of knocked out when they crashed because the Autobots do end up coming in the Ark and the Decepticons come in the Nemesis. I should bounce back to the first trilogy because I forgot to talk about so Tarn and Darksmoke make an appearance, but not as disciples yet. They're basically been trained by Megatron, and so is Scourge is there too. Megatron's training an elite group to do different things, like basically Black Ops stuff.
Right.
And basically, he builds them a ship to gain recruits, but as they're leaving Cybertron, he gets shot down by Zeta's forces. Not really shot down. It's kind of like how Sentinel Prime ship in the movies, it gets shot and it gets drifted off into space. It's kind of like that.
Okay.
So we'll come back to that. We'll bounce back to that later. That's gonna be a plot point later about their ship. So, I haven't really planned out the Earth Wars, but I know a couple characters. I'm gonna have Lennox make appearance, and X because they're the best characters in Michael Bay's. They're more entertaining, and I will have Left Cheek Line make an appearance. But basically, the first one is going to be your standard, kind of it'll be more of an homage to Generation 1 of your classic Earth battle, but it's going to be a little bit different. Megatron's not going to be like, oh, I hate humans.
Jacob, unfortunately, I am gonna have to bounce. I have a I have to go. I said yes to a thing I forgot about, so I gotta get going.
It's
Sorry,
fine.
guys. I'll have fun and see you on the next podcast.
All right,
Adios.
say goodbye to Alpha.
Bye, Alpha.
Well, I
we
should probably wrap up soon.
Yeah, I was gonna say it is like 9:30.
Yeah, I'm gonna wrap this. I'm gonna just wrap up the first Earth thing, and then we'll end the podcast.
Alrighty.
Okay, so with it's gonna be Megatron's gonna be. He's gonna try to avoid because he knows what his damage. He's starting to realize, hey, there's been unnecessary casualties with different planets we fought on. So he's gonna try to avoid fighting in human cities until. So I'm gonna bounce back again to the with the body of Nightbird. He builds kind of like a tomb inside the Nemesis. He keeps her in, just so he can basically have her body there, and it's so it does. He knows nothing happened to it because he cares about her still. Now going back to the first thing. What's his name? Sunstreaker. This is gonna happen here at some point. He's gonna board the Nemesis, and he's basically gonna jettison her tomb outside the Nemesis, and that's gonna piss off Megatron.
All right. Yeah, I can see that being a
Because
major.
as Sunstreaker, basically Optimus is not doing enough to defeat Megatron, so he decides to take it in his own hands, but his plan's kind of failing because he was going to try to assassinate Megatron, but it's kind of failing. So you know what it is? He basically, I'm going to jetstone this tune out of the airlock, and it's basically the Nemesis is basically in orbit, so Megatron won't know where it lands. So Megatron's so pissed, he basically rips Sunstreaker from limb until he's nothing. Yeah, Sunstreaker fucking dies in that scene.
I'm guessing that doesn't sit well with Sideswipe.
Oh yeah, Sideswipe, he's not happy. But with the body being, it does land somewhere. I don't know where it's going to be land, but it's going to be landed next to some sort of human city, and the humans that find it. What's the group called in Age of Extinction that builds Transformers?
I believe KSI.
It's going to be some sort of my version of KSI. They're going to take her body and basically take it apart, rebuild it, and turn it into the more classic version of Nightbird. So it's going to be a twist on that episode for the first chapter. As once Megatron discovers this, he's so enraged that humans are defiling her. He basically, it's like the scene from Age of Extinction where Optimus and the Autobots are shooting up like KSI's base, but this time he's giving no mercy, and he ends up fighting Nightbird. Well, not really Nightbird because it's like motionless, just a drone, and he has to put her out of her misery because it's not Nightbird. And it kind of hits Megatron hard because it's like, I basically had to watch her die again, but it's not really her, but it looks like her. Then that's kind of just the end of the first chapter. There's going to be little hints of the artifact I talk about, how you can communicate with the dead. Optimus discovers the existence, but he wants to go find it because he thinks he can use it to help guide Megatron on the right path. Because as Megatron's thinking, he's thinking that what he's doing is what Nightbird would have wanted. It's like, it's not. He's drifting so far away from his original ideals that he's just turning to quote unquote a monster at this point. He's starting to I'm gonna have during this trilogy after the Nightbird thing, he's gonna start going towards the edge where he could go from no return. So that's where I'm gonna end this part, and we're gonna talk about maybe more in the next podcast. But do you have any questions
I
can
guess
answer?
in regards to the Nemesis, will you be having it be Trypticon in this?
Actually, yeah, I will have it Trypticon. But Trypticon he basically does die in the second chapter of he gets killed by Zeta's forces, overwhelming forces, because Zeta was able to use I should have mentioned this when I was talking about basically Fortress Maximus kills him.
So wait, though, so he turns into the Nemesis and then he's just stuck in the Nemesis, right?
Yeah, because he's no longer he's not gonna be say he could be sentient, but he's just he's basically, they used his body to turn into the Nemesis.
Ah, okay.
As instead of saying in the line continuity is that he's doing it out of you failed, now you have a new purpose, giving you purpose. Megatron's doing this because Trypticon was basically someone that was at Kaon, one of the enslaved beasts, and Megatron does let him go to choose his own path, but Trypticon decides to follow Megatron's orders. And after Trypticon dies, Megatron feels like he kind of failed Trypticon a little bit because he just got let him die. So he decides to give him a new purpose to honor him slightly. Megatron's gonna have a little bit more of an honor code in this, but They give him like more of an more interesting character because I want to make this Megatron unique from other depictions, not just like Lord Megatron.
Of course.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Not at the moment. No.
All right. Well, this is going to be mark the end of the fourth episode, and this is probably going to be our longest episode.
Yeah. When this was
I
just
will-
supposed to be like an hour.
This is 2 hours.
I know, but I'm saying, remember when it was supposed to be an hour?
Yeah. I kind of got carried away. I have a lot of stuff to tell.
Oh no,
So-
I got a bit carried away. Also, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fun though, just talking about Transformers.
Oh, it
But
is.
we will continue this in maybe a part 2. Maybe hopefully the next podcast will be the part 2. But we will leave it here, and we will see you guys in the next podcast episode.